We started the 2021 Euroformula Open Championship in the south of Portugal at Portimao, and we have crisscrossed the European continent, and we conclude right here, right now at Barcelona in the north of Spain. Round 8, race 24 of what has been a magnificent Euroformula Open Championship. Good afternoon to you. A very warm welcome to the circuit of Barcelona, host venue for the Spanish Formula One Grand Prix since 1991, when that event moved up from Jerez, and this weekend hosts the final round of the 2021 Euroformula Open Championship. The title was decided 24 hours ago. Cameron Dass is the champion. He is wearing number 1 on the motorpark car as Jack Crawford, another American, one of 4 in the field, makes his way out onto the circuit for the first of his installation laps here in Spain. This is the final race. It has been a magnificent season. Cembolokbashi took a race 1 yesterday, the Turkey's second win of the season. Jack Crawford took race 2 this morning, and the Texan, the Red Bull Junior, who just got to the line. We were unfair on Jack, saying he was coasting to the line. He had a gearbox which was not working 100%. He just took the victory from Louis Foster. Crawford and Foster start 1-2 on the grid for the final race of the championship in just a few moments' time. That's Enzo Trulli in car 15, his second podium of the season in car 15 for Carlin Racing. And that's Christian Mansell, who will start grid 3. He was down into pit lane on the formation lap this morning. He had a gearbox issue also, went back out, set the 3rd quickest time, and therefore the Australian will start on the inside second row of the grid. A glorious afternoon here in Catalonia to the north of Spain. This is the Texan. This is Jack, who is now 3rd in the championship, looking to cement that place. Cameron Dass, as we say, he has won the title. He is the first driver from the United States to win the European Series. Jack, who has raced also in the FIA Formula 3 Championship, has missed a couple of rounds. He missed the first 2 races in Portimao because he was still 15 years of age. He turned 16 on Sunday, started the back of the grid, and came storming through to finish in 6th place. That was a sign of things to come. He has won 7 times throughout 2021. And as you look at Josh Mason, park the 21 double R car on grid 6. Philippe Caminiaz looking to end the season on a high. It's been a good season for the pole, culminating with the podium in the rain last time out at Monza. Philippe Caminiaz will start from grid 9, so he had good speed in race 2 this morning. The 5th row of the grid. This is the highly rated Scottish debutant Dexter Patterson, the Glaswegian, and Brad Benavides had a great run this morning. We'll start out of grid 11 in car 71 for the Carlin Racing team. Enzo, his teammate, out of grid 8. Dexter Patterson, you saw the Union Jack on the Scottish driver's car. He was a little bit disappointed. The DriveX team based in Madrid, perhaps not understanding the 1,000-year-old history between the Scots and the English. Yeah, okay, technically he is British, but he would have loved to have seen the Scottish flag on his car. Certainly, the Australian flag on that of car 10, Christian Mansell, starts grid 3. Has already been on the podium. He made his series debut at Spa. That was for the Carlin Racing team, with whom he raced to 3rd place in the British Formula 3 Championship, if we can refer to it as that. Just one last time this afternoon. Yes, we know it's been renamed the GB3 Series. The British Formula 3 Championship was just got a long history back to the 1970s, I think. Christian comes over and joins us in the Euroformula Open Championship with one eye to a full attack on the 2022 championship. As the 5-minute board goes up, a fantastic field for the 24th race of this fantastic championship. Let's take a look at the grid. Jetpack Jack Crawford from Houston, Texas. No, I did not nickname him that. He's from Houston. NASA have got a base there. They launch rockets. That's where the nickname comes from. The American-based Brit Louis Foster, grid 2 and 2nd in the series. For the Crypto Tower Racing team, who won the title in 2020, the Japanese-owned team, owned by Kazuya Sakamoto, with Yifei taking the 2020 title. This is Christian Mansell, 30 years after Nigel Mansell wins the Spanish Grand Prix here in Barcelona. Christian starts out of grid 3. Cameron Dass, this is the newly crowned champion, out of grid 4 in car 1. Chembolo Bashi, a race winner 24 hours ago. The Van Amersfoort Racing Team, car 74. 2 times he has won in the 2021 championship. We've had 7 different winners, incidentally, in Euroformula Open in 2021. Josh Mason in car 21. There is the Brit. Looking to end the season on a high, Nazim Artsman, who won race 2 at the Red Bull Ring in Austria. The Malaysian, the 20-year-old for the Crypto Tower Racing Team, out of grid 7. Enzo Trulli third on the podium this morning. That was a good drive because you can see starting back on grid 8, he wasn't the quickest on the circuit. He was 8th quickest. And therefore starts at grid 8. Philippe Caminias, the pole. A good season for Philippe, has acquitted himself well, up from Formula 4 in 2020. The 2021 rookie champion, Casper Stevenson, including 2 outright victories. The Londoner in one of 3 Van Amersfoort racing cars. The second Carlin Racing entry from the United States of America, the Miami-born Brad Benavides, his hometown, which will host the Miami Formula 1 Grand Prix in 2022. One of 2 Mexicans, Sebastian Alvarez for Double R Racing, starts 1 ahead of his countryman, Rafa Villagomez, in car 8 for Van Amersfoort Racing. We go back through the field. Francesco Simonazzi in his 2nd Formula 3 race. Had a really great run this morning. Actually broke 3rd gear in qualifying. That's why he had to start from the back of the grid. The 3rd gear, the crown, was actually missing a couple of teeth, and therefore didn't set a time in qualifying. Enzo Shanti, car 35 for Team Drivex, the team from Madrid, the Spanish capital, alongside his teammate. This is Dexter, the Glaswegian, out of grid 16. The highlights of what has happened thus far this weekend here in Barcelona. Chembolo Bashi, after taking pole position yesterday with an impressive 1:35 dead, led to the checkered flag to take his 2nd victory of the season. Cameron Dass finishing in P2, and that ensured he won the title. Jack Crawford, from pole position, launched off the line to lead down into turn 1, and from there, nobody would be able to stay with the Texan, who pulled away to take his 7th victory of the year. He did lose a ton of time in the dying stages of the race with a gearbox that wasn't working 100%. Louis Foster just missing the top step of the podium by just 0.16 of a second. This is the championship. Das is the champion. Louis Foster in 2nd place, and Crawford, well, potentially he still can just overtake Foster if Louis has a DNF and if Jack wins here this afternoon. Race 3, round 8, the final round of the 2021 Euroformula Open Championship. The grid looks like this: Jack on pole, Louis out of 2, Christian Mansell out of grid 3 for Team Motorpark, and the champion in car 1 out of grid 4, that's Cameron Dass. Chembolo Bashi out of 5, going for his 3rd victory of the season. Then Josh Mason for Double R Racing, Nazim Artsman. Enzo Trulli on the podium this morning, starts back on grid 8. Philippe Caminias, Casper Stevenson, car 25 out of 10, and then Brad Benavides. And the 2 Mexicans, Sebastian Alvarez for Double R Racing out of 12, ahead of Rafa Villagomez, Francesco Simonazzi, Frank Simon for BVM Racing, Enzo Shanti, and Dexter Patterson for Team Drivex, the Madrid-based team, on the final row of the grid. A glorious afternoon here in Spain. The 1992 Olympic City, home to one of the world's great football teams. And of course, this very circuit, which has hosted the Spanish Formula One Grand Prix ever since 1991, when Nigel took the victory. The Brummie, the Birmingham driver, speaking of which, we've got Josh Mason from the same city as Nigel in the race here this afternoon, the host venue for the final round of a magnificent 2021 Euroformula Open Championship. Ian Silvestrin with you in commentary for the final time, joined by Ida Wood in 2021. Cameron Dass has won the title. His countryman Jack Crawford starts out a pole position. Mathematically, Jack can overtake Louis Foster for second in the championship.
Yeah, there's still lots of different positions to play for in the championship standings, and of course that comes down to super license points, which if you want to race in Formula One or get to Formula 2 or even IndyCar, you need those points to essentially progress up the ladder, particularly when you need an F1 seat. So very important, this battle between Crawford and Foster for second place in the standings. There's over 20 points between them though, so it's going to be very hard for Crawford to overturn that advantage when, you know, they're 1-2 on the grid.
Well, basically, if Jack wins the race, if Louis has a DNF, he will go second in the series as he lights up the rear Michelins. Louis does likewise. And there's Christian. We got underway in support of the Portuguese Formula One Grand Prix. We have crisscrossed the continent. A driver from the other side of the Atlantic, from the United States of America, has claimed the championship. His countryman Jack Crawford starts on pole position, race 3, round 8, the 24th race of the Euroformula Open Championship. Crawford in car 52, 14 Motor Park. On pole position. An American, an Englishman, an Australian. No, they don't walk into a bar, that's not a joke. They start 1, 2, 3 on the grid. There's Dexter, car 78 for Team DriveX, out of grid 16. Welcome to the home of the Spanish Formula One Grand Prix. The 5 red lights for the final time in 2021. We race. Not the best start from Christian Mansell from the second row of the grid. Jack and Louis go side by side down into turn 1. Louis Foster almost runs into the back of Crawford. As now Mansell starts to recover, Crawford would lead them down into turn 1. A super move around the outside. Crawford has to defend. Foster's gone back into third place. As Mansell starts to recover somewhat after almost stalling off the line, the Australian is in position 4. Crawford leads away up into turn 4 into Repsol. On the first lap of the final race of the season, the field jostle further back in the pack. A good start by Dexter, who's already gone by a couple of places. There's Brad Benavides, another great start for the American driver. Head of Natsim Artsman, also Josh Mason. So Crawford, the Texan, has got the lead. He was almost pushed by Foster as you ride on board with Christian Mansell. Cembolok Bashi, also a good start for the Turk, flying the flag for Ben Emersford Racing. In second place, Cameron Dass, the championship leader. So the Americans run 1-2 in the final race of the season.
Yeah, Cameron went right around the outside of turn 1, couldn't quite make it into turn 2. Crawford held his line to keep that lead, and looking further back in the order, the DriveX cars both very slow off the line, but have actually gained positions on Rafael Villagomez, who's dropped from 13th to 15th, and Francesco Simonazzi, who is currently down in last place in the Sol BVM racing car. Drivers coming through the chicane that ends this lap. This will be the first lap of the race. Jack Crawford leads away ahead of his countryman Cameron Dass. It's going to be a 1 second lead for the American. Louis Foster in third place, Cembolok Bashi fourth, Christian Mansell, who, you know, the fastest lap set the grid for this racer, although he had a bad race too, he managed to get up there in 5th place, and Enzo Trulli in 6th.
Bolabashi in P4, so Christian Mansell started grid 3, has dropped back 2 positions, but he's ahead of Trulli. Mason, Atzman going through, there's the Malaysian in the colourful car 18 ahead of Casper Stevenson. Sebastian Alvarez, Simonazzi going slow, he's missed turn 1. That's bad luck for the Italian, who goes wide, rejoins at the back of the pack. Francesco Simonazzi for BVM Racing down in position 16. Crawford, Dass, the Americans 1-2. Louis Foster, if he finishes 3rd, he will finish 2nd in the championship. Jack doing everything right in the early stages of the final race of the 2021 Euroformula Open Championship.
And further back in the order, Dexter Patterson has overtaken Philippe Caminiar's the 12th place. He started towards the back of the order, so he's moving up the order. He's a guest driver this weekend. He can't score points. He's ineligible to score, but he's doing a good job because he had not seen the car at all until he hopped in it on Thursday morning. And here is the provisional driver standings at the moment. Louis Foster in second place, a few points ahead of Jack Crawford in third. And obviously Cameron Dass has already secured the title. He's already got it in the bag, so he's got nothing to worry about here, but he will want to beat Jack Crawford in this race. It's American versus American. It's motorpark driver versus motorpark driver as well. So lots of inter-team relations at stake here. Crawford's going to come across the line to complete the second lap of this race, and he has actually built up an advantage. It was 1.1 seconds last time around, now it's 1.27. Louis Foster 2 seconds back in third. Chembolic Bassi keeping in his slipstream, and there we're looking at Sebastian Alvarez, who's currently in 10th place. Our top 10 cars covered by 8 seconds.
Basically the length of the start-finish straight. A really good start from Sebastian Alvarez on the back of Casper Stevenson. Goes a little bit wide at the exit of turn 2 though. There is Enzo going through in car 15 in position 6. A really great breakthrough season for Enzo, truly, not only in Formula 3 and Euroformula Open, but in car racing altogether. Jack doing everything right. There is just, 11 points. You saw the graphic a few moments ago in the bottom right of your screen. So Louis Foster, if he finishes in third, he'll finish second in the championship. But Jack is pulling away 1.3 seconds ahead of the newly crowned champion. Jack, if he wins this, he won't take the title, but it would be 8 victories. Imagine if the FIA Formula 3 Championship did not clash. He did have to miss a couple of rounds of the series, and indeed he missed the very 2 races in Portugal because he just was not old enough for the license to race in F3. 7 wins so far, and he leads the final race of the championship. That's Natsim Atsman, the 20-year-old Malaysian, coming over from the GB3 series. Natsim in car 18 in position 8 ahead of Casper. Sebastian Dexter up into position 11. A replay of the start. Christian Mansell did not get off the line so well. Cameron Dass certainly did. Foster almost ran into the back of Crawford. And Cameron Dass around the outside. The Americans went wheel to wheel down into turn 1. Watch Mansell from the second row of the grid almost stalled. And it looks as though Enzo Shanti at the back of the grid almost did likewise. They all get away cleanly. On board with Mansell. Goes virtually nowhere, did not have enough revs. Cameron Dass says, see you later, mate. He's gone. The champion down the inside tried to take the lead from his countrymen. The Americans 1-2 here in Spain into the first corner, and now running that way in the final race of the 2021 championship. Mansell back in P5 as Brad Benavides runs off the road. A disappointment for Brad, who was trying to finish the season on a high. He's dropped way back behind Francesco Simonazzi. So it's now a recovery drive for the 4th American in the field. Enzo Trulli, his teammate for Carlin Racing, in position 6.
And the offer Benavides now means that Dexter Patterson is up to 11th place. That is 1 position away from the top 10. But like Alvarez, here's a guest driver. Here is a replay of Josh Mason going through the final few corners, getting very slidey, going downhill there. He actually pranged his shoulder in race 1 yesterday, which was a bit of a painful thing to do at the start of the race, but he still managed to get to the end, and he did race 2 this morning as well, so it was totally fine to race with. Here's Jack Crawford leading this race. Look how smooth the inputs are from Crawford there as he goes for the chicane. That is a well hooked up car on fresh tyres. You can properly tell there. He is 1.55 seconds ahead of Cameron Dass at the moment. Now, Dass was chasing Bolek Bassi for the win yesterday, I think, and this morning as well we had a very similar battle where it was more like 1.2 seconds. At that point, once you can kind of stay in that range, you can just stick to the rear of that car, and as long as you keep your tyres cool, you continue a battle. And there's contact on the pit straight. 2 cars are battling, and you can see them at the back of the picture. I think that is for 11th place potentially. That is one of the Crypto Tower cars in the Van Amersfoort. They touched wheels down the pit straight. Villa Gomez and Caminiar's, and they've touched again and spun around Caminiar's. A double pirouette there into turn 1. So as they were coming past the timing beam, he moved across to the right. They banged wheels. There was a bit of smoke. Has he stalled the engine? Yeah, so hopefully he gets that going again. Otherwise, we will have a safety car. Imagine that incident will be investigated as well for moving across that. That is Simonazzi now up to 14th, chasing Enzo Scianti. We've got yellow flags at turn 2. Dexter Patterson now, I think, would be in the top 10 potentially. Bit of a good recovery from a slow start. Crawford still leading the way up front, 1.5 seconds. Green flag at turn 2, so Kaminiars has got going again.
That's good news for the pole. Let's hope he can bring it home to the checkered flag and race as hard as he possibly can over the remaining 14 laps to finish this race on a high. Jack's certainly going to do that. Francesco Simonazzi, what a recovery from him after going wide in the opening stages of the race. He's now caught up a couple of places on the back of Enzo Scianti and Rafa Villagomez. Jack comes across the line. The gap was 1.5 seconds last time. Back to the champion who's behind him, who's too far back to get the toe. 1.8. So Jack puts another 0.3 of a second between himself and his countryman, who's now being caught by Louis Foster, Cem Bolekbashi. Christian Mansell also almost gets the toe from Cem down into turn 1. There's Enzo in the background. Cem Bolekbashi, the best of the Van Amersfoort racing drivers for the moment. We take a look at a replay of what happened just a few moments ago. Rafa Villagomez wheel to wheel with Philippe Kaminiars, who turned in to try and give the Van Amersfoort racing drivers some space, avoided contact. We have to give Philippe Kaminiars credit for that. He turned in order not to run into the back of Rafa, turned it around, a complete 360, and has got going. That was almost a big crash. Van Amersfoort Racing down on pit wall, nervously watching, and they've got away with that one.
And that includes Tom Clayson, who's of course Villagomez's driver manager and will manage Van Amersfoort into its new ventures in 2022. Jack Crawford currently leading the way. He'll provisionally take third place in the standings as it stands. Louis Foster in third place, he'll move in second. Cem Bolekbashi though, with him in fourth and his teammate Casper Stevenson in ninth, that'll be a change for fifth position in the standings. Bolekbashi missed the first 3 rounds of the season, the first 37.5% of racing action this year. So that's a pretty impressive job to lift himself all the way up the points order despite missing the first 9 races.
We were harsh on Jack this morning. In fact, I have to confess, I was harsh on Jack. He limped to the line. It looked as though he just backed it off.
But it was an electronics issue.
Exactly.
Yeah, so essentially the gearbox was fine. The Dallara 320 is an incredibly stiff car. You set it up very stiff, it's very nimble, it's very pointy. You want the suspension, and you can see it here. There's not going to be much tilting of the car. The car just bounces over the curves because it's that stiffly set up. But the vibrations then shake up the gearbox for a start. The gearbox is well built, but the electronics as well. So the gearbox may be able to change gear, but if the electronics say you can't select the gear you want, it will try and skip a gear or actually just go down a gear when you're trying to go up. As he came through the final corner of this morning's race, he was trying to go into, I think, from 4th to 5th, and it just dropped from 5th to 6th, where it went from 4th to 6th and then down to 2nd, and he took a whole second lead, went down to a 10th of a second at the line, which, you know, made him very nervous, made the team nervous. And Cameron Dass, who's on our screens now, he had a fairly similar issue in yesterday's race as well. And here's a slow motion of Cameron Dass. You can see a lot of spin on the front left tyre, but the Motorpark setup allows that rear end of the car to really rotate around. It takes a while to get used to as a driver, but ultimately it means you're far quicker at the apex of the corner, and therefore generally it's easier to maintain position.
The Motorpark team running 1-2 with the 2 Americans, Jack Cameron, these beautiful Euroformula cars. There's Christian Mansell, looking at a full season in 2022, made his debut with the Carlin Racing team at Spa. The last 2 rounds at Monza, he was on the podium there. He's in P5 at the moment. Right on the back of Cem Bolekbashi. He's actually caught up to Cem. We'll get the toe as they come down through the chicane, this time across the line. We'll check the top speed through the speed trap, over 240 Ks. And Christian will certainly be a few clicks an hour quicker than that down the straight. As they come across the line, the gap is 0.3 of a second. Christian, will he line him up into turn 1? Jack goes through, then it's Cameron. Louis Foster, the battle for 1 step off the podium. Christian Mansell has a look down the inside. He's too far back. The Australian behind the Turk. A slight wobble on the exit, and Cem Bolekbashi breathes another lap for the moment at least.
Yeah, Christian's been fighting a bit of oversteer all weekend, and we can see that through turn 1, particularly at the chicane at the end of the lap as well. Villagomez is up to 11th place past Dexter Patterson. Patterson lost 2 seconds in the middle sector on the previous lap, but in addition to that, Villagomez has actually been cleared of any, offence during that incident with Philippe Kaminiars. There's no further action required, so those 2 are going to keep on fighting in the positions they hold. We go back to Mansell and Cem Bolekbashi. Bolekbashi's got the exact same setup as his Van Amersfoort racing teammates, but it's producing wildly different results this weekend. It's really how the driver puts their own inputs into the car and how much they heat up the tyres, and that's ultimately what's made him faster than Stevenson and Villagomez this weekend. He's in 4th place, Stevenson in 9th. That's going to overdo the 10-point difference between the two, and then it'll come down to 2nd place countback on who takes 5th place in the standings.
A very high downforce circuit. You can see the wings. Basically, they don't get much more, well, vertical than they can set here at Barcelona. Incidentally, last time down the start-finish straight, Christian Mansell clocked 243 k's an hour in the toe of Cembolic Barsi, who only recorded 236. So he picked up 6 or 7 k's an hour in the slipstream. Down the straight, there's the BVM Racing team. Their driver Simonazzi in P14. Here comes Christian on the back of Cembolic Barsi one more time. Will he try and line him up down into turn 1? He's closer to the back of Bolek Barsi for positions 4 and 5. He's too far back to make a move down into turn 1. And Bolek Barsi with the Australian breathing down his neck. Mansell, who did lead at race 2 at Monza in P5, desperate to finish the 2021 season on the podium here in the Euroformula Open Championship final.
Yeah, it was a brilliant move by Mansell at Monza to get ahead. I think he was in 4th place in the spray, and then he moved to the front. He's evaluating Euroformula for next year. Francesco Simonazzi, BVM, they've already confirmed that we'll be back full season next year, which is very exciting to see. A few more of the drivers on this grid are certainly looking at contesting Euroformula again in 2022, but the likes of Cembolic Barsi and Cameron Zas, they're pretty much aiming for F2 next year. That's going to be their main target. We're looking at Cembolic Barsi now with his plain black helmet, which kind of blends in with the Van Amersfoort black and orange livery. It's very camouflage friendly, and he said it was like Darth Vader earlier, which is a pretty cool comparison. Christian Mansell, I'm not sure what comparison we'd make to some kind of sci-fi character. Maybe he's just, I don't know, he's upside down because it's Australia. That's a bit of a stereotype, but he's done very good when he's come up to here. British F4 was winning straight away in his rookie season. GB3, he won 2 races, I think. He won at Spa, which of course he got the experience from this car. And then in the 3 rounds he's been here, he's just got faster and faster and faster, despite the big gap between round 1 and 2 for him. So very impressive job. Now he's in the series. It'll be great to see him again next year, and he's currently on course for a 5th place. That gap has kind of maintained.
He's got a very famous surname as well as he dives down the inside. Cembolic Barsi closes the door. There's grip on the outside down into turn 1. Bolek Barsi puts car 74 in the middle of the circuit. Christian Mansell looking for position 4. There's another opportunity coming up into the next corner. That's the Rosberg Hamilton curve 4, if we can name it such. Memories of what happened right there 5 years ago. Bolek Barsi turns in almost identical lines, but Christian sideways on the exit and just takes a little bit of life out of the Michelin tyres. Sits there in P5, desperate to get by. We'll take a look at a replay of Simonazzi just a few moments ago into the gravel and the grass. That's almost where he went off yesterday, into the gravel.
Side on as well. Totally lateral slide there. It looks like he's got it back on track. Because we don't have a first sector split for him yet. We do now, 29.1, so he has got going. He's still in 15th. Benavides, who obviously had an issue earlier, he's now up to 14th. Shionti, slow start, up to 13th. So some of these offs and accidents carrying down the order, actually helping drivers who made mistakes earlier bring themselves back up. But the points positions at the moment below the top 5 is Enzo Trilli in 6th. He's got a half a second to Josh Mason in 7th. Then Nazem Asman 8th. Casper Stevenson, Sebastian Alvarez in 10th, but he's a guest driver, so Villagomez on course for 1 point in the final race of the year.
Half race distance in the final race of 2021. There's Trulli in the background once again. Mansell gets the slipstream. It looks as though he'll be too far back, but there's nothing left to lose in 2021. Will he dive down the inside? Thinks better of it. He's got 8 laps remaining to get by yesterday's race 1 winner, Cembolic Barsi, who moves up into, 5th in the championship. Jack Crawford, if Louis Foster finishes in 3rd, Jack will finish the series in 3rd place. Valuable F1 super license points being awarded in the Euroformula Open Championship. We are back in 2022. The calendar has been announced in the past few weeks. We get underway on the first day of May at Portimao, 22nd of May at Paul Ricard in the south of France, Spa, the Hungaroring, the Red Bull Ring, Mugello, Monza and Barcelona on the 16th of October. 8 current Formula 1 Grand Prix circuits back on the Euroformula Open calendar for 2022. This magnificent championship with these spectacular F3 spec cars brought to you by GT Sport Organisation. As Christian still trying to get up onto the podium. He's in P5 with 7.5 laps remaining now. Crawford has got 2.2 seconds over his countrymen's. Still the Americans run 1-2. Foster, if he finishes third on the podium again, it will be second in the championship. Down through the chicane. Here goes Champ. Christian's closer this time. Exits turn 16, but Bolokbashi gets a good run. 7 laps now remaining. Look at the timing screen, or the graphic to the left of your screen. The Stars and Stripes 1-2, and the Union Jack in position 3.
And for talking about the FIA Super License points, the number of points Cameron Das has earned already is 15 points. That's more than 4th place in Formula E or even IndyCar, which is, you know, massive rating of how good Euroformula is. 2nd place gets 12. Here's a replay of Alvarez currently in 10th. Going through very neatly through that last chicane. You can see Villagomez only half a second behind now, so that battle for 10th place is really hotting up. Of course, Villagomez has essentially already got the points. He doesn't even have to overtake Alvarez for that at the moment. Louis Foster on course of 12 Super License points, also worth more than 4th place in Formula E IndyCar. And then 3rd, which is currently going Jack Crawford's way, that's 10 points. Now that is also the equivalent of 4th in IndyCar or Formula E. So really, all these top 3 are getting a lot of points, and, you know, good bang for your buck as well compared to racing in IndyCar or Formula E as a step to Formula 1. You're going to get a lot more racing and a lot more value out of racing in Euroformula with this lightweight, nimble car with the Michelin tyres, which are a little more forgiving to drivers, but also a very good education tool to essentially progress your career, progress your driving skills, and work with some top-class teams in the paddock as well. So great series to be in.
Not only that, it's a fantastic Junior Grand Prix series in its own right. These cars, we made mention of the pole time yesterday. Cem Bolokbashi, 1:35 dead. On your screen now, still in position for Dennis Hauger when he took pole position in the FIA Formula 3 Championship. A 1:33, so only 2 seconds off the Prema Power Team drivers' lap, which took pole. Given that they've got a V6 engine pushing out near on 400 horsepower, these cars are absolute missiles. Jack Crawford with 2.6 seconds over Cameron Das is pulling away. The sun is shining here in the north of Spain. We've got 5.5 laps remaining in the 2021 championship. Jack Crawford is on track for an incredible 8th victory here this afternoon. Cameron Das cannot bridge the gap. The Americans run 1-2, and Foster still in 3rd place.
Yeah, this is the first time actually during his Euroformula career Crawford has been beaten to pole position. He'd taken pole on every single appearance he had until this weekend, and I think he's taken 2 wins per weekend, and each weekend he's contested as well. So Paul Ricard, he won races 1 and 2, although he didn't actually win at Hungary. Then Imola races 1 and 3 because Roman Stanek just picked him at the line in race 2. Red Bull Ring, he won race 1 and race 3, and then here at Barcelona, Catalonia,
by just a 10th of a second as Nazi Martzman, who won race 2 in Austria. The Malaysian in P8 ahead of Casper Stevenson.
And then we've had Cameron win all 3 races at Algarve, which was an incredible weekend. Card race, I think we can call him a Spa specialist already. He did very well there last year as well. Nazim Asman, like you said, Red Bull Ring. Casper Stevenson won the 2nd race at the Hungaroring and the 2nd race at Monza in the most torrential rain, I think, was race 2. Incredibly tough conditions for those drivers. Bolokbashi on his debut at the Hungaroring, and of course yesterday as well.
In race 1, that's Casper Stevenson in the background. In this 4-car fight, Enzo Trulli has dropped off from Christian Mansell, who's safe in P5. Josh Mason is behind Enzo, who runs a little bit wide. Nazi Martzman in the background, and Casper Stevenson, the rookie champion of 2021. So Enzo starting to feel the pressure from Josh Mason. Carlin Racing versus R Racing, the 2 legendary British teams. They've had some fantastic drivers over the years. Carlin Racing need no introduction, and of course R stands for Riken and Robinson, the team established by Steve Robinson and Kimmy back in the early, well, quite a few years ago now run by Anthony Hyatt. And their boy Josh Mason in P7. There's Nazi Martzman going through. Car 18 driven nicely here this afternoon, the dying stages. And Enzo Trulli, who was on the podium this morning, but he's under pressure. There's Mason as Atzman closes up under brakes. down into turn 10, the all-new turn 10 through the part of the circuit which has been used for the World Rallycross Championship here at Barcelona ever since 2015. Enzo Trulli down through the chicane. Got a nice run that time, trying to keep the wheel as smooth as possible. Accelerates out of turn 16. Casper Stevenson has caught up to the back of Natsi Matsman and also Josh Mason. This four-car fight. Four-car fight as they race down the straight. Enzo just enough ahead not to give the toe to Josh Mason. Stares at his mirrors as he races down into turn 1. Casper Stevenson almost caught up to the back of Natsim Artsman. Nice driving style from Enzo. Former international kart racer for Kart Republic. Won the highly prestigious Andrea Margutti Trophy at South Garda Karting Lonato a couple of seasons ago. That was in juniors. Won the United Arab Emirates Formula 4 Championship at the start of the season as the VAR team watch on. Chem in P4 down in pit lane. The VAR team with 3 cars, the best of which Chem in P4, Casper in P9 and Rafa in 11th place. There's Josh Mason. The Brit in car 21 with Enzo ahead, Nuts in behind. So he can't really attack. Truly is not quite close enough. You can see the Carlin car going through. There is Bolakbashi still defending from Christian Mansell. Jack, incidentally, the gap remains the same between the two Americans. 2.5 seconds, 3 laps to race. Just under 15 kilometers of the 2021 championship. We will race here in Barcelona this afternoon.
And we'll be racing here again next year as a season finale. We start at Portimao the first weekend of May. Then we head on to Paul Ricard a few weeks later. Spa-Francorchamps in June, classic dates, normally a little bit wet there, and we see a lot of very close battling as well. Hungaroring in July, normally the hottest weekend of the season. The Red Bull Ring in Austria. We've got Mugello in between there. It's a potential date change there as well. Monza on the 25th and 26th September, and then the middle of October we return to kind of the ancestral home of the Euroformula Championship, Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia.
Down the start-finish straight, this is Dexter and Enzo, the 2 Drivex cars. The American, the Scotsman for the Madrid-based team, and they trade positions. A good performance, a good outing on debut in Euroformula for Dexter. Racing nicely with his teammate. There is Enzo. He won't make the podium this afternoon with now just less than 3 laps remaining. He's in P6. Mansell still cannot get by Bolakbashi. Back to the front. The Americans 1, 2. Crawford and Das. Louis Foster. He's only 1.5 seconds behind Cameron Das. He does not need to pass him. P3 will be enough for Louis, the second generation racer, to finish second in the championship. Jack on track for an incredible 8th victory. Remember, there's only 24 races in the series, so he's won every 3rd race on average.
And he didn't do, well, he missed 2 of them because of FIA Formula 3 clashes, so he's missed 6 races, so he did 18. He's won 8 out of 18, almost half the races he's contested.
The penultimate lap, just under 10 kilometers to race. We check the gap, 2.4 seconds. Stays roughly the same. Cameron will not catch him. And there is Louis Foster. Listen to them scream down into turn 1.
And one driver who has caught up is Brad Benavides, right up to the rear of Dexter Patterson now for 13th place. Benavides was, I think, 10 seconds back from the rest of the field after a little off early in the race. But he's making a great recovery drive. There's Josh Mason chasing down Enzo Trulli for 6th place. There's 6 tenths between those two. That gap has been fairly similar for the last few laps. It was 7 tenths the last time I checked. So it's quite hard to overtake at Barcelona because it's a high downforce circuit, and you deliberately put as much downforce on the car as you can, because that's essentially what leads to a faster lap time.
In any category, we've known that for over the years, but it's also one where the drivers and the teams and setup that does shine. This battle rages on in the dying stages of the 2021 season. Truly, Mason and Atzman. Jack, the gap is down to 2 point something seconds. He's got it under control. Natsim Atzman down through the gearbox as he climbs the hill. That very corner where Mika Hakkinen looked set for victory in the Spanish Grand Prix back in 1990-something, until he coasted to a stop within sight of the checkered flag. We don't wish that on anybody here this afternoon. Josh in P7. A good season from Josh Mason. And Natim Atman will, of course, cherish that victory at the Red Bull Ring. Enzo Trulli, what a future the second-generation racer has got. We hope to see him back in Euroformula in 2022. The season is looking brighter than ever. Jack Crawford on his way to his 8th victory of the season. This is the final lap of 2021. We got underway at Portugal at the start of the year before going to Paul Ricard in the south of France, Spa-Francorchamps, Budapest and the Hungaroring. We raced at Imola, the Red Bull Ring, Monza just a few weeks ago in the pouring rain. There is no rain here in Spain this afternoon. The season final here in Barcelona. Cameron Dass, the champion, goes through in second place. Louis Foster for the Crypto Tower Racing Team. P3 in race 3 this afternoon will seal second in the championship. Crawford up the hill for the final time, a faultless drive, a 1:37.305, the fastest lap of the race as well. The gap is 2.3 seconds. Incidentally, Josh Mason has just set the fastest first sector of anybody in the entire race. Just a few hundred meters to go for the Texan. The hugely highly rated Red Bull Junior from Houston. Dr. Marco watching on live from the other side of the Atlantic. His boy will do it again. Down through the chicane for the final time. The checkered flag is about to wave. Jetpack Jack Crawford, Texas Ranger, wins in Euroformula, the season final, his 8th victory of 2021. The newly crowned champion Cameron Dass across the line in second place. The drivers from the United States of America finish 1-2 in the European Series final. Louis Foster across the line in P3, that seals second place in the championship for the Englishman. Jim Bolakbashi does hold off Mansell for 4th place. Christian ahead of Enzo, Josh, Natim Atman, Casper Stevenson, Sebastian Alvarez ahead of his countryman. That was Rafa Villagomez just crossing the line outside the top 10. Dexter home on debut ahead of Brad Benavides. A good recovery from Brad after going wide in the early stages of the race. And Simonazzi with a spin. The same can be said for Philip Camini as they will just limp to the line. The 16 drivers all taking the checkered flag. There is the race winner. He's done it again. His parents, Tim and Nikki, can be proud of their boy. The quietly spoken American. That's an oxymoron in itself, is it not? The drivers from the United States of America finish 1-2 here this afternoon. Crawford wins race 24 of what has been a magnificent Euroformula Open Championship. The champion in second place, and Louis Foster home in third. That seals second place in the 2021 series for the British driver. Jack with a 1:37.305, the fastest driver on the circuit. Just came 6th yesterday, but takes 2 victories here this afternoon. Finishes 3rd in the championship. Louis in second place, and Cameron Dass, a very worthy champion. The first American to win the European Series. He's done it this weekend at Barcelona. No issues with the gearbox either this time for Jack. It was a nervous finish for him this morning, but a faultless performance. The Motor Park team, who have had some brilliant drivers over the year. We made reference to the likes of Scott Speed and Valtteri Bottas, who raced for Timo in years gone by. Of course, Dan Tigton winning the Macau Grand Prix just a couple of seasons ago, where we hope to race in the very near future with this magnificent open spec Dallara EF32 car. Jack lights up the rear Michelins as he comes down into pit lane. He has won 8 races on average, 1 in 3 for the Texan. Finishes 3rd in the 2021 championship. There is the champion, Cameron Dass. Position 2 this afternoon in car 1, Motor Park 1-2. Job done, and a nice finish for Cameron. Jack pulls into position 1 for the 8th time this season. Louis Foster for the Crypto Tower Racing Team to the left of your screen. In 3rd place. He's done it again. Good drive this afternoon for Louis, the 2nd generation racer, with the most colourful helmet in single-seater open wheel racing, you would have to say. I know that's a controversial call, but it's a work of art, that of Louis Foster's.
Good pace.
I thought I had space, I was like... Yeah, no, it's fine. Fucking jump at the same thing. Oh! Porca troia!
Eighth victory for Jack. Takes a well-deserved drink. We'll hear from him in just a moment. By the way, thanks for the can of Red Bull earlier, Jack. Louis Foster, the American pace Brit, finishes 3rd, his 2nd in the 2021 Euroformula Open Championship. A nice drive this afternoon in race 3. Cameron Dass, position 2 in car 1. He is the champion of the European Series. Jack Crawford for the 8th time this season. He won race 2 this morning, and he has won the final race of the Euroformula Open Championship. Let's go down to Alfredo Filippuan, who's down with the race winner, Jack Crawford, in pit lane.
Jack Crawford, no gearbox issues this time.
No, it was a more simple race. I mean, I think Louis got a better start than last race, and I sort of chopped him off a bit. Hold my position, and yeah, it was a good race. I managed to pull a gap quite early on and then stabilize the gap. I think I made one mistake through the race, which was sad for me, but yeah, great weekend, I think, despite the issues in qualifying. So yeah, happy with the whole season, and I can't thank Motorpark enough for giving me a race-winning car. So.
And P3 secured on the final podium of the Euroformula this year.
Yeah, I mean, despite missing 8 races, I still think it was a great year. It would have been nice to see what I could have done with the full schedule, but you know, happy to be here and happy to just win races. So.
It was a pleasure for us, and all the best for the future. Well done.
Thank you.
The highlights of the final race of the 2021 championship. Jack Crawford from pole position led Louis Foster down into turn 1. Louis almost running into the back of the Texan. Look at this on the exit of the pit lane. Cameron Dass swept around the outside to try and take the lead away from his countryman. He went by Foster, almost took position 1 away from Jack, but Crawford says, no, you don't, and held on to position 1. Rafa Villagomez coming together with Philippe Caminias, who did very nicely to turn that around and avoid the traffic and avoid Villagomez at the same time. Unfortunately, Francesco Simonazzi, a big moment in his 2nd F3 race. We'll see him back in 2022 with the BVM Racing Team. Out front, Jack was untouchable. He maintained the gap over 2 seconds over the newly crowned champion, Cameron Dass, in car 1. Team Motorpark would finish 1-2. The Americans 1-2. Crawford takes his 8th victory of the 2021 Euroformula Open Championship here at Barcelona in Spain. Great performance not only this afternoon but all season for the Brit. Louis Foster, 2nd in the series, 3rd place in the final race here this afternoon. Cameron Dass, the champion in P2, in the final race of the 2021 series. On the top step for the 8th time in 2021, it's the Texan from Houston, USA, Jack Crawford. The Red Bull Junior in car 52 wins for Team Motorpark. And once again, here in Spain, we're about to hear the most famous national anthem in the world of sport. What an absolutely magnificent racing season we have seen in 2021. Jack Crawford wins the final race of the year. Cameron Dass is the 2021 Euroformula Open champion. The nightmare is finally over. The future is looking bright. The 2022 calendar gets underway on the first day of May at the Portuguese Formula One Grand Prix circuit, that is Portimao. On behalf of all the team here in Barcelona, everyone at GT Sport Organisation, thank you for watching. Cameron Dass is the champion. We'll see you at Portimao for the 2022 Euroformula Open Championship.